Got to check to see if Mike hit the button.
I hit the button. You're
Uh,
going.
The
We're
Indie
live.
Council's in session. Welcome, everyone. This is a place for the leading voices from across the industry to gather to talk news, titles, and everything indie. I'm your master of ceremonies, Jill Grote, the Indie Informer. Joining the council today are Eggland's best, Mike Towndrow.
It's over. We did it.
Literally, I love the sort of ad-lib jokes in the showcase. They were some of my favorites.
There was one that I accidentally cut out, and it was part of the script, but it was just like I guess I was just so tired of editing, and like I was just looking for the quick takes and whatnot. I made fun of the NYPD at some point, and I'm so mad that I cut that out by accident.
Well, I'm sorry. We'll all just kind of have to imagine what joke Mike would have said.
I think I trust the chicken police more than the NYPD. Slam.
Boom.
Only think
ACAB.
says a lot about.
You know, I was in downtown Brooklyn. I didn't want to get shot. You know.
And that lovely voice you just heard is the starter of the Indie Council Picture Inception War, Janet Garcia.
Hello, excited to be here.
Yeah, like I don't think you understand what you've started.
Also, Jenny's replied to us. Did you see?
Yeah, I saw the reply.
Did they?
And now it's like the next time we're at any event and one of us isn't there, we all have to take pictures with the person who's not there, and it'll just continue on and on and on forever. Those are the rules. And last but not least, someone everyone but me seems to have hung out with at the events of last week, Jenny Wyndham.
Hello,
Jenny.
Hi. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you too. I could have literally saw you in person and somehow I just missed you.
It was so hectic. Honestly, I feel like every time right before an event, I'm like, oh, I have so much time. Totally will be able to see everyone. Totally will get everything done on my list. And I feel like I arrived to the event and somehow my calendar has populated with things that I just didn't even know were going to be there. So yeah, It was a wild week. And then we'll have to make a point to hang out next time.
Speaking of things that you might know about that are going on that suddenly pop up, let's go to indie news because the
Great
Triple I
segue.
initiative is revealed. We know what it is now. As of people now watching this, the embargo is for Thursday at 10 a.m. So we're going to put this up after that. But the Triple I initiative is a collaboration between a whole shred of high-profile indie developers who are putting on a showcase. Showcase is set to go live April 10th at 10 a.m. Pacific time, West Coast time. And actually, that's really mostly what we know. I tried really hard. I did meet with a few of the members of the initiative while I was at GDC, and I tried really hard to sort of get them to tell me what was going to go on. And they were just like, no, I'm sorry, that's going to have to wait. So, that's how it goes. But I did get a press release that had a list of some of partners who are involved in some way or another, not necessarily showing anything off, but one of those names included the name of a company for which one of us here works. Jenny, what do you know about this Triple I Initiative showcase?
I feel like this is a bit of a trap. No, I feel like I don't think I can speak to really any of the details because the secrecy is part of that allure, but definitely excited that the little tidbits of information are going out and that there is going to be something that we can look forward to that is different this year. I think it's just nice to see another showcase. I think we've seen a lot of showcases try to like raise up indies in a lot of different ways. I think all of us have been involved in one way or another in a showcase that's involved in raising up indies. And so it's just exciting to see another one that's coming out, especially with the level of publisher sort of in studio involvement that this one has. I think it's got really strong potential to be very interesting.
Yeah.
That's all I can say.
I do have an interview that is going up probably very quickly around this time period where people are watching this, but it is very funny to talk with indies even on like that high level, the Triple I level, because it is still so much just like, hey, I'm doing cool things and my friends are doing cool things, so let's do cool things together. And that seems to be 100% what kicked off this whole thing. So I find it really interesting that the kind of thought process for the showcase timing was sort of, we don't want to, like, a lot of people when they do showcases kind of want to be near the central hubs of like a showcase or an event or something happening, but this one was chosen very specifically to happen in April because it was between like PAX and GDC and then Summer Game Fest. So yeah, I think that is a very interesting choice. They spoke about how a lot of times when you see at like a Summer Game Fest, let's say, if you have indie games in a triple A focused showcase, a lot of the time what you see in like chat or people reacting on the internet is like people just being kind of vocally bored about like, what is this? I don't know what this, even though it's like a game like Cocoon or something that's going to win Game of the Year for things. And I think this is a very interesting move for them to kind of take it upon themselves as the developers and say like, hey, we just want a space to have our audience and the audience we know is interested to come and show up and watch what's going on.
I was reading a study, and I'm saying all of this as like someone who is not a direct organizer in this showcase. Like I am just as part of my company participating in the ways we can.
I don't believe you.
Yeah, everyone pay attention.
I think what's really interesting is there's a study that I think it was Evolve PR put out right after the Summer Game Fest last year. And it detailed sort of like what were the impact of these showcases, how did they impact the games that were featured. And one of the stats that really stuck with me was that 80% of the coverage and like noise were done by 20% of the showcases. And it really was like the heaviest hitters that you would kind of expect that took up most of that like space in the room. And so I think having this really intentional choice of saying, hey, we're going to divest from this and see like what happens if we carve out our own space and our own time, and we are taking up all of the oxygen, hopefully, you know, with the goal I would imagine is taking up all the space in this time frame. I'm really interested to see what happens with that. So I'm eager to see that, but pretty cool choice.
Yeah, 100%. Some of the things I know I can kind of shout out here are going to be like developers behind things like Slay the Spire, Darkest Dungeon, Hyperlight Drifter, Vampire Survivors. Like these are all really high level indie like creators. These are these are usually games or studios that have peeked into mainstream a little bit. So I'm very intrigued to see if we get some of that audience pulled in or not. Obviously, people like us indie sickos are going to be there, you know, like there's no way I'm missing this. But I did talk a little bit, they talked a little bit about how this is such an experiment. And a lot rides on this sort of first event as to how things go in the future, because there is talk of this being a yearly event if things go well. So hopefully things go well. But we will see. Everybody check that out when the showcase hits April 10th, 10 a.m. Pacific time. Speaking of showcases, Mike, how was the 6-1 Indie Showcase?
It's over. I'm so tired.
You did it! You have some news
Yay.
concerning viewership, I believe.
Yeah, so I checked this morning. We were like just below like 15K in views, which is way more than the other three combined, which is pretty nuts.
Yay, you're doing
So,
great.
We're doing
Like,
something right.
It's so good. Like the first time I feel like I've probably said this and I sound like a broken record. I'm sorry, but like the first time I saw the 6-1 Indie Showcase, like I was so blown away by how good it was. Like it is well paced. Like the PD thing, the pre-show with PD was so fantastic. Did not expect that voice coming out of him. Who did the voice?
It's just Petey. Don't worry
It's
about it.
just PD. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. I apologize to PD.
Yeah.
That's such a great idea to like highlight. These are games that y'all might have missed and they're out right now. And then everything like you started and ended with like debut world premieres. How did that feel?
It felt special. Like it's all weekend long. Like Kyle and I are not good at taking compliments. So it's been like just it's not about us, whatever. it's really humbling being able to do that. Especially, I mean, Jill, shout out to you in particular. You were the one that got the hookup for the Secret of Crystal Mountain, and it's so sick that we were able to keep that a secret for so long, and now that we can finally talk about it, it's a real thing.
Yeah, that game originally came across my path in like November of last year.
Before Thanksgiving. Yeah, we locked it in for the showcase before Thanksgiving, which is
and I was like, I'm so sorry you have to wait this long to reveal your game, but it'd be really worth it. And also, there is a demo for it. Is it still up, right?
Yeah, it should still be up.
Okay. Which I played a little bit of, and you can check on the Indie Informer. Oh my god, it's fantastic. It is like every single thing you come across, every character is like, oh, you're a friend. Oh, I want to talk to friend. You're my favorite. I don't want anything to happen to you. Like, shout out to Molly the bird, and then just Penguin. Everyone's got like adorable little things, and then it's sort of a Tunic-y type game. It's sort of a little gator game kind of thing.
Yeah, when we
short
spoke
hike situation.
When we spoke to Chris for the interview, he mentioned like it's very much short hike, little gator game, but also very Mario 64, very Zelda. So doing the, I don't know, what do you want to call it, like cozy walking adventure, whatever the hell that genre is, but blending it more with like traditional like N64 style flair.
Yeah. And there are things that I was walking along and I hadn't played it before. I didn't know anything about it. And I was just like, wouldn't it be so cool if, like, one example being like, there are flagpoles around the town. I was like, wouldn't it be cool if I could like grab onto this flagpole? I jumped towards the flagpole. I didn't just grab it. I started swinging and it shot me off into the air. I was like, I was not prepared for that. This is so cool.
It was special to start out like that. And Forge of the Fae almost didn't happen. That was like we tried our best to lock the lineup by the end of January so we could get like the script knocked out and film and all that good stuff. The studio never replied because like obviously we want to get the confirmation before we move forward. And there are some cases where like folks will say like, yes, we want to be in the showcase, but then like they'll never give a trailer or anything. If that's the case, I'll just find a trailer on YouTube. It is what it is. They gave me permission, whatever. But with Forge and the Fae in particular, there was nothing out. So like I couldn't do that even if they let me. But it was like a very last minute thing where they finally shot me an email. The poor team was like riddled with COVID after the holidays.
Oh, no.
That's why it was so delayed. But it was just a really cool circumstance that like it's never been shown before, and that it was having its big like reveal with PAX East. So it worked out well. Funny story with that. Kyle went up to the booth at PAX East. He was like, "Hey, I'm Kyle 60 Indie. We got to do the showcase together." Blah 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 blah. And the team had no idea who he was. Because we were dealing with one specific individual who is currently in Japan.
Right. That's funny how often that kind of happens when you're like you've done like a preview or something you think is really big, and then the team like has literally no idea because you've just been talking to like intercessors.
Yeah.
Which is why things like PAX and GDC are so fun, because you get to meet those people. But we'll talk about that later. The Future Games Showcase also happened over GDC week, and they were just dropping dates. And I was like in the middle of back-to-back appointments, and I was like, come on, calm down. I can't have this anymore. Like, I'm going to need you to not say anything. I'm going to throw it over to someone who hasn't talked a lot, Janet. Just because I know it's going to freak her out to say it.
No. It's all
cool.
Good. Don't even worry about it.
Did you catch any dates over the week that you were really excited about?
Well, like for just from the Future Game Showcase, or like in general?
In general is fine.
I'm trying to think of what was most recently announced. I honestly don't think so. Like I feel like a lot of the stuff that like I've had on my radar has already had dates for a bit, so I feel like I don't have anything particular that I like really popped for. But yeah, it's a rarity. Usually I have at least a couple things to list, but no, not this time around.
Yeah. Some of the big ones for me, unless someone wants to jump in and cut me off because they're so excited. Mike.
Farewell North, somebody we had on the 6-1 showcase in March or August. They got their date coming August 15th. Harold Halibut decided to go for April. April and May. It's stressing me out.
Yeah, for real. Like, I'm not ready for that.
Still Wicks of Deep in June.
Yep,
Very excited for
Haunty
Still Wakes the Deep.
is May
Haunty,
23rd.
Yeah, Haunty.
another May one. Indica, May 8th.
Oh yeah, I
Oh,
forgot
yeah,
about Indica.
Like May is wild
Mm,
now.
It's not even just May. Like, I'm gonna look at my release schedule because I updated it really recently, but it's like May 9th has like 10 things
that
on
1
it.
week is rough. It's
It
like
is so bad.
Indica, Yellow Taxi Goes Vroom,
Animal Well,
Animal Well, Ventures of the
Surmount,
Vile, Surmount,
my
Crow
gosh.
County,
Crow
Crypt
County.
Master.
Wait,
Shout
they're
out to
all
Crypt
on the
Master.
9th?
Those are all.
That's
it's
like all like those 3
8th and then
days.
yeah, it's 9, and then Indica is the 8th.
No.
And it's like not
Oh my
even
gosh.
like one of those are going to be a banger. It's like all those are
All
like
those
some
are
of
gonna
our
be,
most
like-
anticipated games of the year.
Yeah. So I'm terrified. But I am very happy to see them all. I'm very interested that they showed up at the Future Games show.
Yeah.
I was sort of surprised not to see a big like Nintendo Direct like indie show they usually do around GDC time. So the fact we didn't get anything, I'm wondering if that pushed a lot of people into the Future Game show. And
You think?
because
Sorry, you think Nintendo's just waiting for Switch 2 at this point?
maybe like I like go back to our episode where we decide what that release launch titles are going to look like, because it's going to be a banger and Nintendo can really thank us for all of that. So
For front loading the work for them.
yeah.
You're welcome, Princess Peach.
But Nintendo did have a presence at GDC. And I got to play a few things. So let's go and move over to, unless anybody else has something to drop right now, now's a good time. And we're 3, 2, 1, topic of the show. Too bad, Mike.
I was gonna make a Nintendo joke. It's okay.
I've made a pun and I'm gonna read it because I really enjoyed it. Are you ready? The topic of the show: PAX is past. G to see you later. Boom.
Hey.
GDC later is very good.
Thank you. I was
Yeah.
writing it down and I was like, what word rhymes with CD, or like, like what can I say? I'm like, oh, see you later. That's perfect.
That's why they pay the Indian form of the big bucks.
Yeah.
That would be fantastic. So how's everybody doing? How's everybody feeling this week after the events?
We did it.
Woo!
Good job.
Yeah.
Good job,
Go
team.
team.
I wish there was
Right.
more time. There were like so many things playable and like
Mhm.
viewable at.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm guessing all these events. Like, I don't know how much y'all felt the walls closing in on you in some ways, but there's like the mix, State of the Devs, like on the GDC side, the Nintendo thing that you allude to, Jill. There's an Xbox One.
Xbox thing, yeah.
And at some of those, like I really wasn't able to really play like much of anything. So I guess I don't know, Jill. Maybe you kind of ate with the appointments. I don't know, because I'm like, I'm not gonna wait in this line
Yeah.
to do this just because it's like I gotta wait. I'm gonna spend like 30 minutes trying to play one game that I might be like, you know what, wasn't that interested in this. We probably
Yeah.
could have spent time, otherwise. So yeah, I wish I had been able to split myself up in some way or just hit up more things, but you only have so much time.
Yeah. I think perhaps that response is that you're like nearing a decade younger than me, because by the end of the week, my body was literally not going to forgive me for the absolute horrible I had put it through. Like,
Well, you wore
My-
your sneakers this time, right?
I did.
You were
I had
sneaked
my
up.
janitor proof sneakers.
Hey.
But yeah, it's still like I had tendons overstretching that shouldn't be overstretching, and like, yeah.
Dude, speaking of sneakers, I made the commitment. Crocs only for these damn shows.
Wow.
I made the mistake to wear Vans for the first time, and they're the only sneakers I brought to PAX. And right as I was leaving the airport, I was like, "Oh no, this is it. This is my life now. It's awful. Everything hurts. Everything's getting cut up." I was having a horrible time.
Yeah.
Crocs
I
all the way.
literally I was speaking to a well-known person who may or may not want me to tell the story, so I won't out them. But they were literally like, we were discussing being old and being hurt, and I literally pulled out of my purse. I keep a little, like, it looks like a macaron because that's amazing, and I untwisted it. I'm like, would you like any kind of medicine to help? I was just like, I probably shouldn't do that in public.
So you went full NPC. You were
Yeah,
like, I might
100%.
have the goods
I have
that
the
you seek,
healing.
you know?
I have, yes.
I was straight on Celsius, and
He
Celsius
put
and
on a red wig.
meloxicam. Celsius and meloxicam. It was great.
Yeah.
I was having a good time. Weirdly enough, though, like my back is atrocious just in general in life. Was totally fine all weekend. I did not feel anything all weekend.
Nice.
We'll just put that
Don't know
on
why.
some quote for you. I didn't feel anything.
I don't
all
feel
weekend.
anything.
Speaking of things that are on you right now, out of a side note, I love that sweatshirt and I totally ordered it. I'm so excited.
Wait, it's folding.
There you go. We've got PD merch if anybody wants to go to 61indie and check that out.
61indie.com/merch.
Yes.
I don't think none of us got sick though, right? Like the PAX
No.
Knock
flu
on wood.
was-
So
I'm good.
far, yeah.
Hilariously enough, I got home. Kelsey was dying. Kelsey was like the worst she's looked in a very
Oh,
long time.
no.
Just like the most gnarly cold. I'm like, damn, did you get PAX plague without going?
without going, like transmission. Yeah, I had my traditional like post event COVID test and that was negative, and I was like so relieved because I'm going on vacation next week and I'm like, oh no, if I
Yeah.
got something, this would literally be the worst time to have got something. So all of us are feeling spry, having had
Spry. Yeah.
having had some days to be off of our feet.
Friend of the show, Jacob McCourt, Sunday night, no, I was at home Sunday night. Saturday night, we're all hanging out in the Hyatt Seaport, and he turns to me, he's like, hey, Mike, what are you gonna do for yourself? This man knows my body better than anybody. He's like, what are you gonna do for yourself? So Jacob, today on March 27th, I stayed in bed till 11 a.m. I got a massage, went to the chiropractor. Cheers, buddy.
That sounds great. Good
Good
job.
time.
Fantastic. Oh,
Shout out to
man.
Brittany at the Now Massage in North Carolina.
Shout out to Brittany. This show is dedicated to Brittany. Jenny, you had talks both at GDC and PAX. How did those go?
I think they went well. No one told me otherwise.
They went
so
very well.
I refuse to think they went poorly at all. No, I think it was great. At GDC I did a talk called "Streamers Don't Want to Play Your Game," and it's a clickbaity title. I will admit it, but it was really just to get developers thinking from the content creator's perspective and how they can improve their outreach and not just have it be about them wanting people to play a game, and it was really, I think the most intimidating part was that there were a couple of pretty notable streamers that I'm acquaintances with and that I knew of sitting in that audience relatively close to the front. So I was like, man, at this point, I don't care if the devs really like the talk. I really just don't want to offend any of the content creators who are sitting in this room. So I hope they like this. And it seemed like they did. So that was really good. And then PAX was a bit less like, I guess, academic or businessy and much more fun with a lot of the panels because it was like video game Tinder, video game cocktails. It was just shenanigans all around. So that was very, very fun.
Tinder panel was phenomenal.
Yes.
It was unhinged. Like, I will say, the person who set the tone from the jump was Ben Starr.
Yes.
I remember Anya and I talking right before the panel, and we're like, oh, we'll probably like ease in. We don't want to like come in at a 10, right? And Ben is literally
I heard conflicting things from Anya at the Westin beforehand.
When Anya talked with me, we were like, yeah, we got to maybe ease in a little bit, but we're going to get there, right? Ben was like, hold my beer, or I guess not an alcoholic beverage because we're in PAX and they don't allow alcohol in there. Hold my drink. And he came in at like, not even an 11. He was like at a 15 from the first swipe. And so it was great.
The best like preamble to that though is like when Ben, like I said hi briefly. The best thing is like Ben, like just in his own zone with wired earbuds in, listening to God knows what, going straight into the expo, the panel room. I can only imagine like what was playing in his head.
Yeah, we
like,
need one of those TikTok
stuff.
folks to just be like, what are you listening to?
What are you listening to?
Yeah.
But Anya told me before at the Westin, she's like, yeah, we're going to just go for it. I'm going to probably drop, will this character spit in my mouth in the first 5 minutes and then that'll set the tone. And yeah, she did.
Yeah. It was perfect.
Mm-hmm.
If you catch anything, catch that one, but definitely catch anything that Jenny was in.
Yes.
Janet, this was your first GDC.
Yes, it was.
How did you feel about it?
It was good. Just in that, I enjoyed what I really wanted to go for, which was the talks. Got a lot out of that, took a lot of notes. Got lucky in that most of them didn't get wildly technical, like the ones that I chose to go to. Minus like there was like an Alan Wake one presented by Adobe that was like, look underneath the mesh of these people's faces. And I'm like, I don't really know. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't really know what I'm looking at. And they're like, and then we had like way more mesh than we have before. And I'm like, I can kind of conceive like bigger number, more complicated thing. But it's like, all right, this isn't obviously gonna, it's not going to be looking to implement this because I don't make games again. I'm just a critic. So just getting to like hear other people. There was like on the indie side of things for talks, there was a cool talk that I went to. Now I'm trying to see if I wrote down the name of the person that gave the talk, but it was a case for making your own game engine, which I thought was just really interesting to hear just why go through it, right? It's like so much work to do. And then particularly on that note too, they had a really fun example of, see, like, how do I get to folders on here? I'm like a million years old all of a sudden. They had a really good example of using just like showing all the different indie games that have used their own engine, which was interesting. So yeah, just stuff like that was cool. Seeing, oh, well, it has a larger upfront cost and there's like not the automated language that you kind of have shared, but it can be like more cost effective long term and you can build exactly in the ways that you want to build. So just kind of having that perspective, I think we hear a lot of times people toss around the tools that they're using. I think especially too, like in the era that we're all in after having like all those discussions about, Unity and all of that, like earlier in the show, it was just kind of cool to get that different perspective of like, almost like it's like an even more level of indie where it's like, not only is this an indie game, but like I made the engine that made the game is like pretty bonkers.
Indie all the way down.
Yeah. So that was just like cool hearing that, there was like a big turnout for that. And that was kind of fun to just hang around and see the kind of, stuff that went about it. They had examples like Don't Starve and Into the Breach is like games that use their own engine. And then from the game perspective, again, I missed a lot. Like I thought I was gonna, be swimming in titles. The mix, I was there for like 30 minutes. Day of the Devs. I missed that press hour. You missed that press hour at Day of the Devs SF. It's over.
No.
See, I thought it was gonna be like the LA one, which the LA one
was really unexpected.
We had like 8 people there, and I'm not trying to, obviously I'm not shading anybody involved in making it, but I just think it was new to LA.
Yeah.
LA has like a different community, a different vibe, it's not as established. For all those reasons, I didn't really think about that before going to the SF one. I was like, oh, I know what this is going to be. And then I was like, oh, this is really, really busy. So I only played a couple weirdo games outside, but yeah.
Did they take over Alamo Drafthouse again, or was it at a different spot?
No, Jill might know.
In SF, it was in the Midway.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I know back in the day they used to do at Drafthouse.
No. Yeah.
Go ahead, Jane.
No, I was just going to ramble about like it was a cool event. But yeah, as far as the location, I don't know if have they used that one before, Jill? Is that new?
That's been their location for a couple of years now.
Is it always that packed also?
Yes.
Okay. I was like not expecting it all. I'm like, oh, y'all showed out for this. Like I thought it was just gonna be like
no.
You know what I mean? I really underestimated how packed it would be there.
Yeah, Day of the Devs is such a San Francisco based event, and it's been an event for so long. I imagine that a lot more people know it exists because like last year was the first year they were in LA. They didn't do a ton of like outreach beforehand for outside people. Like anybody who was in games journalism knew it was happening. So that's basically who showed up. But no, I was expecting Day of the Devs to be nice and busy, which is good, Yes. It means that that's how many people are excited to play indie games, but it is very difficult to actually play anything unless you have an appointment, and then that brings its own sort of problems because then you're like, I got to play Hyperlight Breaker, and I always try to say Drifter. It's not Drifter, it's Breaker. And it was the line that was like 2 hours long, and the poor person, like at the time I was supposed to play, had like just sat down, and they were like, excuse me, I'm so sorry, there's a press member here. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry.
How dare you, Jill?
Like, what's your site so I can review bomb it?
Yeah, for real. Like, IGN.
Oh my god. That's like you were so quick with that. Like
I
you were
know,
alarmingly
you
were
quick. That
ready.
was so funny.
No, because there were a
She was
lot
like,
of,
it's not my first event where they're like, who is this? It's like,
Yeah.
don't worry about it.
Yeah, but it was really fun because Day of the Devs specifically was really fun because it was the Sunday kind of before actual GDC, so a
Mhm.
lot of people showed up to it because they didn't have other appointments and things, and they just happened to be in the area. So, like, I think we've probably talked about this on the show before, but I just want to reiterate that, like, the I mean, basically, the gaming sphere is small, but if you go even farther down into like gaming journalism and gaming PR, like we all sort of know each other. If we don't know each other by like actual interaction, we know each other by reputation. And then there are people that you don't get to see except for a couple times a year. So, like, some of my favorite memories from that particular show is just like hanging out in the sun and talking to Ben Hansen from MinMax and Emran Khan, who was my original news editor boss back at Game Informer when I was an intern. So just like getting to sit and talk with these people and chat and see what's going on in life, and having a camera pointed in my face when I'm not prepared. Thank you, Leo. Um, yeah, I don't know. Do you guys have favorite like memories and exchanges and things that are not sort of work related, but all of it's kind of work related?
Yeah, I was like, that's not work related. I'm like, I don't have much of anything to share that isn't work related. God, that isn't work. I mean, I feel like it's also work related.
Go
but
ahead
I mean,
and go work related if you want.
yeah, I mean, I think to your point, the idea of slowing down and getting to just kind of hang out with people, it's nice to kind of fit that in. Whether that's PAX, obviously, there's always like the karaoke nights, but on the GDC side, it was just like, okay, a lunch that's not an $80 sandwich from the convention center. It's like,
Mhm.
okay, just down the street and kind of just like getting away from things for a second and relaxing a bit. Those are probably the closest things that you get to like a little bit of a break from the hustle and bustle, I think, of running between whether it's appointments or things you want to see or networking events. It's like, okay, those are the most slowed down moments, I think. But yeah, it's all just a work related blur at the end of the day.
Yeah, 100%. Jenny?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for me, GDC is like the gardens. Like that's always what I associate with. For folks who aren't familiar, so GDC takes place right next to this place called like Yerba Buena Gardens, and it's really just, especially when the weather agrees with us during the
Yes.
convention, it's so nice because instead of taking meetings in offices or suites, sometimes you can just be like, hey, let's just meet in the gardens and sit in the sun and talk. And what's great is like I even blocked off every day at least like an hour to sit in the garden just to hang and see who had passed by. And that was some of my favorite interactions were just like, hey, I'm in the gardens. Who am I going to stumble on today? Like that I know from Twitter that I've never met in real life that I'm just going to say hi to for the first time. So yeah, it's really, I think, I forget who I was talking to who said this. If they're listening, I'm so sorry. But I was talking to someone about how what's really interesting is the games are almost secondary. It's like I'm going and I'm wanting to play games, but like especially at GDC and PAX for me, it's about seeing a lot of the people and like
Mhm.
reinforcing these relationships where a lot of the games, like actually, I think it was like you mentioned Forge of the Fae earlier. Like I have a note here because I'm like, I want to play the Forge of the Fae demo. I couldn't because the line was too long. It's on
Uh-huh.
Steam. I'm just going to play it when I get home. So I'm going to spend my time instead to hang out with my friends and acquaintances. And so that was really nice. Just
I
seeing
think
people.
that's such an important thing, and I was thinking about that earlier today about how um so much of the core of what any of us do here is about like
Mhm.
relationships with each other, relationships with our audience, relationships with like developers. It is so important to like I go through, I don't know, like it's hard because it seems like a non-necessary thing when you've got so much of coverage to do, but like I try really hard to go through my stacks of business cards because you always get handed like business cards and stuff, um and to reach out and to say, hey, it was like it's one or two sentence like, great to see you, excited for your thing, and just like make sure that my face and my name is in there, and like you're trying to build up, because not only do you want that for like for business reasons because they'll think about you next time, but also it's just like
Yeah, that's smart. I've never done that. I've fumbled so many bags.
Janet's like taking notes.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not doing that at all. Am I supposed?
But also it's like you want to know like who's cool and like you want to kind of make friends in this space because this is a very isolating job for the most part. Most people who you will meet on the street, like my parents do not understand what I do. You know, they cannot explain that. They're like, she's on the internet. Like, you know, most of my friends who I talk to will think like, oh, it's cool. You get to play video games all day. It's really only the other journalists, the other people in this industry who know what that grind feels like and what is happening at these events, and so you get to like when you meet with everyone it's sort of like a good natured like everyone's dying like discussion, and we all know what that means and we're all just so happy to see each other, but also we're all dying at the same time. It's fantastic. Mike, did you have a favorite memory or exchange?
Also, Jill, that is a trauma bond, just so you know.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's all
trauma
trauma.
bonding.
What
Trauma
you're
bonding
describing
is
is
the
a
thing.
trauma bond.
Hilariously enough, one of my favorite moments throughout the weekend was trauma bonding with Jacob McCourt.
Yeah, Jacob.
Just sharing, like, like we ended up having like five or six traumas in common with each other. It was great. No, everybody said it. Like, it's not really about playing games anymore. It's just about hanging out with people. Like, it's funny how like GDC has the Gardens, PAX has the Westin, whatever. I forgot what the PAX West Hotel is, but every place has one
Has its
spot,
place.
which is hilarious. So yeah, it's really all about just hanging out at that spot once the expo hall closes and have a drink, see who's around, bullshit for a little bit. Yeah, I mean, like this PAX, I mean, we'll get into like the show floor and stuff in general, but like this PAX, I played 0 video games. I did not touch a single controller.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It was.
Don't worry,
real
I
hard.
played enough video games for you, Mike.
And granted, I was like kind of working a booth also,
Yeah.
and I was taking meetings like just around all the hotels and stuff. But despite that, I still had a blast just hanging out with people and hearing what others were like feeling from the show floor. And like Jenny was saying, like a lot of things that like caught my eye were things that have demos on Steam. So like, sure, I'd rather spend this hour I would be waiting online to go grab a bite with a friend and just catch up, because yeah, Jill, like you said, it's a very isolating job, and we all only really get to see each other, if we're lucky, once a year. And that's, you know, if cost allows us, and flights and travel and yada yada yada. Speaking of which, I will miss you all very much when you are all at SGF and I am not.
Mike, why are you not going to be there?
Blame Kelsey, you know, this bitch.
I'll kidnap her.
Joking.
It'll be fine. I'm going to blame Xavier for that because he's teaching me how to kidnap people in his next game, which is coming out
Another April
also
one.
in April.
April, yeah.
Yeah.
Xavier, please.
So
I'm
like
gonna add
speaking,
that to my list, actually.
I put that on my release calendar as well. Now that we have spoken about all of the other things, let's talk about the games.
Hell yeah.
I am like, I feel like my experience started out slow, but the way that my GDCs go typically is that I don't see the show floor until like an hour of the last day because I have to set aside time. So usually what I'm doing is waking up to get into San Francisco at 9 to start my appointments, to go through 5 or 6 of appointment. So I've played upwards of 30, maybe more than 30 games back to back throughout the week. I have so many previews going up this week and next week.
Wow.
I don't even know how I managed to do that. Hopefully it's in English so y'all can read it. But I want to go through for all of us the top 5 games that we played. And let's go ahead and go around the horn, starting with Jenny.
I totally didn't see that there was 5.
I know. I wrote a little note next to yours because I'm like,
Yeah.
Jenny, you're trying to cheat with the shout
I
outs.
definitely tried to cheat. I'm sorry. Okay, I'll narrow it down. I didn't play a ton at GDC, mostly because that was more of the businessy side of meetings for me. So I didn't get a ton of time with games there. I have one, but I think Jill, you'll probably speak to
No,
it.
I want
maybe?
you to use this because I didn't want to use
Really?
it up in one of my 5.
Oh
So-
snap! Okay, so I'll start with Eldritch Empathy, which was
Mhm.
really amazing because I had played it earlier in the day at GDC, and probably 2 hours later, we get this message from Jill that's like, the best underrated game of GDC is Eldritch Empathy, and I'm just like, what the heck?
I like played it. I immediately texted the whole council.
Yeah.
I was like, "Y'all keep this on your wish list because it's good."
It was so random because I was actually talking with a developer who had met the devs, and they were like gushing over how both of them like loved each other's narrative work. And so I thought that was just really sweet. So basically it's a roguelite. And you're like in this world where you have to like basically research the horrors, like the eldritch horrors that exist there, and sort of figure out their emotional states, and like based on the way that you analyze and react and like just determine their emotional states, that's going to then sort of evoke different challenges, different paths, and you're trying to help them like I think you're trying to help them like reach a specific
Yeah.
condition basically. The pixel art is like the exact style that I love. It's moody, it's atmospheric. I love that also they are aiming for it to be a shorter game. So it's one that like I know I could probably bring along with me, hop in and out, keep playing and not feel like overwhelmed with a long storyline. And yeah, I'm just really charmed by it. I'm excited. I don't think there's a Steam page though. I couldn't find one
No.
when
No.
I
The
went
thing
online.
is, it's wild. I was talking to the developer while I was playing, and she told me they're only 4 months into development.
It's-
Like
oh my
they should
gosh.
not be on the show floor. Like, how do
Yeah.
you have something? And they were looking for publishers
Yes.
at GDC, which is another thing that a lot of people
Mhm.
do for this particular show. And seeing how hard it's been for so many people this year and last year,
Mhm.
I wish them so well. It seemed like they were optimistic, which is great. This game looks like it's going to be absolute banger. This is Luel. I don't know if I'm saying the name correctly,
Yeah.
but it's the same team that did I Doesn't Exist.
Mhm.
So like I was a big fan of that game. So I was super in for this one. It is a sort of like it's kind of Chance of Sonar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Got Janet. But with like Jenny said, eldritch horrors. So you're trying to kind of figure out what they're saying and what they want. You're kind of a therapist, you're kind of a translator. You're losing sanity if you don't figure stuff out.
Hell
If
yeah.
you
Just like real life.
yeah. If you happen to like go the wrong way, like all of these things you're trying to figure out, like this one wants to be happy. So you try to figure out the words to piece
Mhm.
together for happy to make them happy. And if you don't manage, my guide told me, you have a gun hidden away in the case that you accidentally just totally mess it up, so you can shoot the thing to
Just
death.
the Michael Scott improv. approach.
Yeah, this is.
But then
What
your
did he whisper
sanity
to
will
you?
take a huge
Yeah.
hit.
He said he
Yeah,
can't
so-
show me, but that he has a gun, which honestly is really an improv work on his part. What gets me is like the page that you linked to here, Jenny, with the game information saying that it's inspired by Papers, Please and Potion Craft. And like, I
Mhm.
no shit to Papers, Please, because I just didn't play that much of it, but I love Potion Craft. So I'm like, damn, this is probably gonna hit.
So good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very, very excited for this. Another one, this one's from PAX East. This was kind of like, I feel like at least again, maybe it was super busy and I only came when the booth was like ebbed in sort of in the flow of the show floor. But no one was really playing this game. And after I played the demo, I was like, oh my God, like this is so addictive. This is really good. Collapsus. It's this basically Panel de Pont, if anyone's played that, which is kind of this like twist on Match 3, Tetris, like if you like those kind of games where you're trying to find patterns and rows of colored blocks, the twist, like literal twist to this is as you play, you can rotate, this is on mobile, you can rotate your phone or iPad to change the direction in which gravity works. And
Cool.
they have multiplayer modes. there's not really a story. It's just a fun puzzle game. I had all the intentions of just playing it for maybe like a minute and then being like, yeah, I'm gonna go on my way. This is great. I sat at that booth for like kind of an absurd amount of time. It was just so much fun. And I think right now, if I'm remembering correctly, they said you can pay what you want. So if you just are like, I just need this for free, you can pay, nothing. The dev also said if we wanted to spend $4 million and just give them that for the game, like we're more than welcome to do that.
They won't turn it down.
They will not turn it down. So I think anyone who's looking for just like a good game that you can pop into, sort of idle with, if you want to get competitive and play against your friends, this is something I think would be really, really fun, especially for folks who love the retro, like Panel de Pont, like Sailor Moon Drops, Pokemon Puzzle League. Like this is going to scratch that itch. It's very, very fun.
We brought this up on one of the nightly IndieCast episodes,
Mhm.
and I would love to shout out that this game is supposedly coming to the PlayStation Vita.
Oh, I
Wow.
love it.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
That's the only place
Incredible
I'll
stuff.
play it now.
It's the only
Mhm.
place Vita lives.
Let's see. I'll go a bit more quickly because I know we have a lot of games to go through. Fretless, an RPG where instead of upgrading yourself and your own personal skills, you're actually upgrading your instrument. There's all sorts of music that's going to be in this. So like the boss battles are like metal music. It's just really cool. I'm a sucker for a good RPG, good pixel art. Fretless has both of those. Woodo, which is a beautiful sort of puzzle manipulation game where you are provided with a cozy scene and then you're placing wooden objects to like fill that scene in with what should exist there. There's a light story that's sort of this gentle narrative about a family and sort of there's like sort of the relationships in that family, but it's just a beautiful wooden warm game. I'm so excited. And probably my game of show for PAX East was Little Ands. Shout out to Cam Hawkins who put me on this and was like, "You have to play this demo." He was right. I've been following Little Lands on Twitter, and I told Cam my one worry is that it's one of those games that looks amazing on Twitter yet doesn't feel good when you play it. That's like always the biggest disappointment.
Right.
I can say for me and for this demo, this game felt great. It's like got notes of Link's Awakening. It has notes of like original Pokemon, like Red and Blue. And Animal Crossing, even with the levels of customization and sort of chill elements that they put you on. It looks so good. It felt so good. And rotating the camera 360 degrees just felt just choice. It just, you can see all of the detail in this world. And I honestly haven't stopped thinking about this game since because I just want to play more and see where the story leads.
Man, I'm really sad that I didn't get to play this. I'm like super blessed that I have people who go to things that can tell me that things are good.
That's a really nice way of thinking about it.
Jenny, because we didn't really get to talk about it because I only got to see you for what, like 7 minutes total?
Yeah, basically.
How'd you feel about the PAX show floor?
I think once I dug into it, I felt like there were a lot of really good games there. Like there were a ton that I haven't mentioned because I'm trying to keep to that 5 limit. I will say it did feel like it felt like there needed to be an anchor on the show floor. There were some conspicuous like absences, like Devolver wasn't there. Nintendo's only presence was basically like Pokemon. There's no Xbox, there was no PlayStation. It just felt like there was some sort of anchor missing. So I think moving forward with PAX East, I think the curation was really good. I think there was still a really strong showing if you knew what to look for. But at a glance, it did feel like there was something not holding it down. I don't know. What did you think?
Yeah, I think like the kind of thought throughout the weekend, just talking to people, it's like, it's weird. It's not bad, but it's weird. Like you said, it's strange not seeing Devolver have their usual presence, especially with Pepper Grinder coming out tomorrow at the time of recording. Like you'd think they want one more public showing. Like I knew going into it, like back from when I was having conversations like in end of the year, like I knew Yacht Club wasn't going this time around. But it was weird not seeing like eSport and even things like Discord, which I don't care about the Discord booth, but it was strange just not seeing Discord or Intel or whatever it may be. and like taking its place that Kidia gaming booth that seemed
Mm-hmm.
kind of scummy, a little bit sleazy, if you will. But yeah, not bad. Just weird. But yeah, if you knew what you were looking for and you had the patience to like really go up and down the aisles and take a chance on some stuff, like there was some fantastic stuff throughout the show floor.
Yeah.
Again, I didn't get to play anything and didn't get to go hands on, but just doing my rounds, there was not one game or one station where I was like, like everything looked fascinating.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What ended up being your show winners, Mike? Because you got nice little
little trophies.
little
Yeah.
trophies.
Yeah, we
to
had little
hand out.
trophies. We had the little birds, the little PD. I think they're just called PDs. I don't know. Who
The
cares?
PDs. I like it.
First off, they went over way better than I thought they would. We got people on the verge of tears giving these trophies
Oh,
out.
that's so
It was
cute.
so sweet. Jenny already talked about Fretless. Fretless rocks. Something we've had our eyes on for a while now. I think it first got revealed like at the Future Game Show back last summer, and yeah, I mean it's what Jenny said. It's killer. Legends of Starcadia was a Kyle pick. I'm just going to read straight from the Steam description. Legends of Starcadia is a quirky turn-based RPG full of action-packed adventure. The rest is lore. I'm just going to stick with that sentence. But it's essentially a Paper Mario like RPG, turn-based RPG.
Cute.
Kyle loved it. Shout out to Lucid, Eric,
Oh, yeah.
my sweet little boy Eric. We never properly, now that we have this grand budget to spend $50 on 5 trophies,
Mhm.
we want to give Eric something, especially as a thank you for being the first ever world premiere that we had on our very first showcase back in 2022. So yeah, we wanted to make sure we kind of like gave him that love and recognition. And Lucid just kicks ass. The game continues to just
Mhm.
feel better, look better, just by the day. Eric pours so much into that project, and yeah, I really hope people respond well to it, because I think that game is gonna be massive whenever it does come out.
It looks amazing. I will say I didn't get a hands-on time with it because the line was always so long. I was like,
Yeah.
I can't wait, but it looked amazing.
It's
Right.
it's gonna be something special. I really felt bad for Eric. Throughout the entire weekend, they had him like trapped in the Westin suite just because he was booked for media appointments like 9 to 5. I was like, man,
Yeah.
you gotta get some air.
You know, good problem.
Good problem.
Also,
Fantastic
too,
problem.
just for people that maybe missed it, Lucid 2D side scroller, kind of
Oh,
Celeste.
it is a Celestoidvania, as
Yes.
Eric
Oh, I
puts
love
it. So yeah, Celeste meets Metroid.
Yeah, and I played it I think a year ago or something. There was like a lot
at
of
the Mix last
complexity.
year.
Yeah, there was a lot of complexity in the tool set, but it is very good and really fun and really challenging. So yeah, I really like this one too. It's will remain on my radar until it comes out. I just gotta make sure I don't. Now I'm scared though. You know what I mean? Where it's like you ever have that game? It's like you're waiting forever, and then it comes out, and you're like, oh yeah, I wanted to play that, and then you
Yeah, I
just
know.
don't. Like I just,
Yeah.
I have so many games where I have
It's
that
like
guilt
the
for.
early access curse.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think
Yeah.
this one will be different though. I really like platformers, so I feel like I'm gonna hit this one up. But
Yeah.
I've said it
But
before.
Janet, that's not the only game that is shared between you and Mike on your lists. What else did
Yeah.
you play?
We did.
Yeah, you've got a list.
you have one here.
Oh, Animal Well. Yeah,
Yes.
we gave a trophy to
Mhm.
Animal Well. Love Animal Well. Continues to impress and astonish us. My favorite, you mentioned, yeah, we were talking about like favorite moments or memories from PAX. One of my favorite moments is Billy from Animal Well and one of the folks from Fretless taking a picture together with their little trophies.
Yeah,
Because
That's cute.
that was very
they
cute.
worked at the same studio back in the day.
Oh, fun.
Oh, that's
Wow.
fun.
Yeah, very weird happenstance.
Mhm.
Animal Well rocks. I can't wait for that game to just take over my life in May.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then we cheated just because we love the Freedom Games crew. We just gave it to Freedom Games, but in particular, shout out to Pinball Spire.
Mm.
It's a Metroidvania pinball game.
Yeah,
shit rocks.
Nice.
And there was also a secret thing that like we were like, should we give it to the secret thing that's not gonna be public for a while? No, we won't. But tip of the hat's a secret thing.
Secret thing.
I'll let you know about that in 6 months.
This is also dedicated to Secret Thing, as well as the
as
massager whose
Brittany?
name I've forgotten. Brittany. Brittany.
I don't know how Brittany will feel with me giving her a trophy.
You come in
massage.
next time. Like maybe she'll be moved to tears. You never
Maybe.
know. Okay, Janet, hit us. What are your top 5?
Yeah, I got stuck in between for like I have like 6 listed, so I don't know what I'm
Yeah.
gonna do with that. But I'll start
dare you.
where you almost ended, Mike, except you had like 8 other things. With one of them was secret. So, but let's pretend you ended on Animal Well, and it was a smooth transition, and now we're
Yeah.
edited in post.
Yeah,
We're
Animal
not going
rocks.
to.
Tell me more about it.
Yeah, I known Animal Well hater. No, I wouldn't say I was an Animal Well hater, but I will admit that I wasn't ready to be like, oh, this is the next best thing. And that's just because when I played it at first, it was at like PAX, and the slice I got was just really, really thin.
Mhm.
Like enough to be like, okay, well, like the art looks great, but I knew that when I looked at it. Like the firework, it had like an aspect of like you could get an item that was a firework, and you could like throw it out and sort of scare off creatures. And I'm like, that looks really beautiful, and that's like a really kind of cool, fun use of this tool. And that's like all I got. So I'm like, well, that's not really enough for me to say much of anything other than like, we'll see. So this is the first time that I really feel like I was able to get a sense of what the gameplay was really like, and to see a bit of the environmental puzzle solving that takes place in Animal Well. And I really enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was like super fun just to sort of it kind of has that thing where you're kind of fumbling your way through the environment, but it's by design, right? Like obviously it takes meticulous design to create something that a player can kind of stumble upon and feel like, wow, it's all just working so like perfectly cohesively somehow. And it's like, well, obviously they made it so that it could do that, but it feels so organic, and I think that's really special in this game. Really I also love it has like light tough platforming at certain parts. Like there's an area where there's these bubbles you can jump on, they kind of fall down, very reminiscent of if you've played kind of really any of Yoshi's games. Like it's a very common like Yoshi platforming trope to sort of be on these like balloons or something that, and then they're kind of cascading down, you're kind of climbing up or around, so it has a bit of that. So I really like that. Really the only concern, if you want to call it that, I have for Animal Well is 2 things. Will I end up hitting those walls in it, because Metroidvania, where it's like you're just stuck to no end, and it's like, who knows what I need to do. Especially too, where it's like has that thing over where it's like, if I had this, I could swing back. Like, well, I know how to swing back. That's a concern. And the second concern is the art style is so distinct and playful that I worry that it might be hard to distinguish really what you're looking at times. I think everything is so vibrant, it kind of overwhelms the eye, and nothing really stands out. It kind of melds together. I think they will skirt that by adding text in certain places. Like I noticed certain items, like a lever, like when you're by it, it'll say like lever. And I think it's because they knew that
Right.
you
People are
can't really
missing
tell
that.
that it's like, is this a stick or is this like interactable? So I'm hoping that that kind of design really makes me excited for their ability to acknowledge those hard distinguishing points and like design with that in mind. But that is like a light concern that I have for it. But yeah, I was like, okay, I'm late to the game, but I'm like, I just want to make sure, because I don't know, a lot of stuff can look good, right? And I like that Jenny brought that up, where it's so often it's like, this seems really cool, and then sometimes you're like, maybe this was just kind of nice to look at. This is the first time where I really feel like Animal Well has the sauce to be something very cool. Other titles, and that was from the Nintendo partner preview, I think that's what they called it. So it was indie heavy, but not like necessarily indie exclusive. The other one from that, again, I'm going to cheat and have 6, is that I finally just played Tales of Kenzera Zao, and it was really good. I'll just leave it at that. Like we already talked about it before, it was definitely in that Prince of Persia Lost Crown energy, but felt distinct enough that I hope that people will play it, even though it is like very similar boxes in terms of like distinct power abilities and things, but it seemed really, really cool. And then the rest of mine are from the Xboxes, like ID at Xbox that they had, which was super cool. Love to see like a nice indie presence at GDC. They had the first one I want to shout out is this game called Inconbini.
I'll go with it.
I feel like I'm not saying that right at all. It's in reference to stores. There's like no. I linked to like their the studio's website. There's like no pages on this game. There's like nothing. There's like not a social like. So I don't know. The studio's Nagai Industries, and it's Inconbini, again, probably butchering that pronunciation. One store, many stores is sort of like the subtitle. And it is a convenience store, like Japanese convenience store, like sim, where you're like working in the store and you like will come across like the different stories of the customers. And it's like, it's got gorgeous art. Really fun, like tactile motions with like, and now you can like take something off the shelf and like the item like pushes forward. It's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
And it reminds me a lot of Lake, if y'all remember that mail delivery game, like where you're like a postal delivery worker in a small town, like that kind of energy. I think
Lake.
Yeah, I think really zooming in on a job that has a layer of monotony, but also interpersonal conversations is like such a good secret sauce that so many narrative driven studios are tapping into right now. And I'm like absolutely here for it. I feel like this is also like lining up well with like the supermarket sim hype that's like taken over one sector of the internet.
I was gonna say, I was pretty sure Janet had recommended another supermarket sim not too long ago to us. So I think this is gonna be your lane. You're just gonna be the market sim person.
Aisle.
Yeah.
Not lane, you aisles.
Oh, okay.
It's
Yeah.
perfect.
See, I heard that is aisle, like I will, and I was like, you'll what?
No, I heard it.
No, it's good.
Good job, Mike.
Thank you.
More food sounding kind of related things. We have Sopa, which
Ooh.
this game is so sweet. This is a narrative game where you're a little kid and you're like hanging out with your grandma, or I think it's your grandma.
Yeah.
And basically what's happening in like the slice that I played, it's like you have your regular life as a kid. It's like, oh, I'm at grandma's house and like she needs some potatoes from the cabinet. And then you go to the cabinet and it like opens up and it's like another universe, because it's sort of is leaning into the combination of, so it's kind of a game that invokes magical realism in that sense.
Yeah.
But what it's trying to really evoke, and what I think is so cool about it, is it's leaning into the idea of like, what's it like to be a kid, and that experience of being a kid, and how much bigger everything seems, how scary stuff like the family dog that you like don't know that well, it's like, you know, seems, and how like you're kind of perceiving that. So that's really what I think is cool and special about this, where it's taking that idea and like blowing it up and exploring it through, again, really leaning into the strengths of the medium of video games, where it has that layer of interactivity, that fun, you're like going down a river and you're like solving little puzzles, and it's all like happening behind the scenes of a more mundane sim on its face, which I think is really fun. This evokes for me bits of Chia in terms of like the childlike wonder, bits of Dordogne, which I always also kind of mispronounce because I believe is it French? Dordogne?
It is.
Just because with the like the kid and like the, you know, grandparent relationship and kind of like going around, so it has like a lot of that energy, and it just seems really fun, really playful in the writing. The little mini games seem really cool, so that one's definitely on my radar. Next I have Dungeons of Hinterberg. Yeah, what's up, Mike?
I knew he was going to do it.
Dordogne.
We had this conversation before.
This is a rehash.
This is literally the
callback.
Same. In the I'll stand by the same thing, which is, does Google do the accents though?
Right. We need like a French speaker. Can we get a French
feel
speaker
like
on the phone?
That's the thing.
I don't think
feel
they
like
do
I've
the
talked.
accents.
Google.fr? Is Google.fr a thing?
It's like how you say like Louvre and everyone knows what you mean, but if you hear a French person say Louvre, it's like, you said it in a way I've never heard before and I can't repeat.
Yeah,
you know,
because I
It is
swear
that
I've had
sort
a
of thing.
friend who speaks French, and I'm probably, maybe I'm like also probably hearing it wrong with like my brutish American ears, but like I feel like it sounded more like Dordogne, but then
Yeah.
there's like a
Dordogne.
slight like there's still like more of an accent, but I can't do it. But yeah.
I think when we previewed it at PAX, whenever, it was Dordogne, I think.
This
Okay.
is
That
the
sounded
Gris,
way more
Greece,
Spanish, I think.
Gris
Yes,
issue all over
Greece
again.
issue. Yeah.
I'm really
Sorry,
I do
everyone.
have one question.
Shout out to France.
Shout out to France about Sopa, because that was one I was really like, oh, I wish I could have played it. So were the mini games like primarily cooking focused? Were there other
No.
types of mini games? Like what did those look like?
Yeah, it's all mixed. Wait, Jude, you play this one too, right?
Yeah, I did. The cooking is actually just sort of
I mean,
what's
but
the
a
word?
narrative
The
set
thing-
dressing kind
yeah.
of. It's like, because the whole
It's the
thing is about
thing
you
that
making the
kicks you
soup.
off.
Yeah.
So a lot of the mini games are things like I explored the fridge and something fell off the fridge and I needed to quickly grab it before it fell and I did not manage to do it.
I didn't grab it either. That was
I was like, I was
That's
not
so fun.
prepared. or like going down the rapids, like Janet said.
Mm.
Like it's all sort of, it's never the same thing twice, and it's all sort of like, I had a bit of a like, first of all, the developer behind this, whose name I've forgotten, Juan is being the first name, um, was so lovely. Like a lovely human being, so excited to talk
Yeah.
about his game, so excited
And
for
shy
people
to
to
talk
see
about
it.
the game in some
Yeah,
ways too.
kind of like a mixture of just like, he was talking to me about how like he made Sopa because he really wanted to show off a side of culture that people usually don't get to see, this sort of like very in the home but fantastical realism. The absolute beauty of this game is ridiculous. The only thing for me is that a lot of the game still has some time, so I'm not that worried, but the mechanical feel of the game still not there for me. I am interested to see what they change about that after a lot of people went hands on with it. But it's going to be one of those things that I play and I'm just like, oh, it's like soup, like warm and comforting and exactly what I
Aw.
want,
I'm so excited.
You guys all like soup on this show, right? Because
Yeah.
I've met some people that don't like soup. Mike, you're
Who doesn't like
suspiciously quiet.
soup?
You don't like soup?
Mike,
You don't like
you
Is
don't
soup?
that
like
no,
soup?
I don't like soup, or no,
Can we
I
have-
can't? No, I hate them. Ooh.
I'm weird with food. I'm like hyper picky, so like it's rare that I like food.
Do you like chili?
Uh,
No.
Okay, that lines up though.
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
just soup.
Would you count
is
like a
soup.
stew
Just
as
kind of
like if it's thicker like a
How are-
stew? Would you count that? No.
The only
A
soup I like is melted
cereal?
ice cream. Cereal, sure. Is cereal soup?
Is it a texture?
kinda
So
like
here's the
soup.
thing with
It's like
with,
soup the way a hot dog's a sandwich, where it's like it's not
Right.
really though. You know.
with cereal though. My primary way of eating cereal, I just eat it out of the box like it's a snack,
Yeah, I do that too.
like Lucky Charms.
Interesting.
Well, it turns
Unless
out, yeah,
it's
we
Usually
don't.
at like midnight.
We're not among all soup friends then, unfortunately.
Okay.
So
Well, Mike, you're
we
gonna
don't
have
have
to
that
just turn around.
yeah, I don't know if you'll be able to understand this game, Mike, because you like don't really know what soup means to
Yeah.
people.
I mean, one
So-
of the first things that the developer said to me was like, "It's all about potato."
Yeah. Oh, you're a soup
I like
fan. Name
potatoes.
3 soups. Like,
Yeah.
you know. Jinx. But yeah, it's a really cute game. I think as far as you're concerned, Jill, for me, it wasn't necessarily the feel, but like the frame rate. Like I got like a lot of like little drops. I think without the drops, I wouldn't care. I mean, is it like the water rafting section? Is that the best water rafting section ever? Admittedly, no. It's a little stiff, but I think it's also kind of meant to be because you're like kind of meant to fight against it. So for me, it's just the hitches. It was a little framey, but hopefully they can smooth that out
Yeah.
before.
That
the
probably had a
release.
lot to do with like the fact we were at events that are not typically made to show games at their best. But
Sure, but like I don't know if I don't know the problem with other guys. You know what I mean? Like I can't hold you. Like I didn't have that beef with anybody else. Like and it's
As somebody
not
who
that big.
was just dealing with technical difficulties due to not the correct laptops or desktops being in place for the first 2 days of a major event,
Oh no.
I could feel the pain.
Yeah. They didn't tell me anything that gives me any indication that this was like I don't know, whatever. And again, it was pretty light. Like if the game shipped that way, I don't think I would care. Like I wouldn't really knock it. I might note it, but I probably would. I don't think it would change my
Right.
opinion on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully they can smooth that out. I'll be quick with the next 1 to 2 because again I cheated. Dungeons in Fitcherburg. This was in the
Yes.
when I saw it. This was the like it's on alert for me because I love the style and the vibe, but I'm like, is it gonna feel good? It looks a little slow, and I think it feels solid. I think it could feel a little better, but I think it feels good enough. So I'm like, okay, cool. We'll put this in the dub category.
I wonder if that's actually intentional because the game is about people who go like who are literal weekend warriors who like go on vacation
Yeah.
to slay monsters, and I'm like, wouldn't that be cool if that feeling was sort of because you're not like a superhero, you're not like you're just a normal person swinging around a sword. Like I kind of like the way that highlights and emphasizes that. So
Yeah,
that's just me.
I think it creates too like a little bit more friction to it. Like it's not a bad slowness, which is what I was worried about, but it's just not like ridiculously zippy. You know, it doesn't
Right.
feel like a
It's not a dasher or
yeah, it's not like Final
it's-
Fantasy or something where it's
Yeah.
like, okay, you're zipping around, you're like God, except for some reason Cloud can't jump. It's you know, it has its own things.
But it does
Um,
have really cool like magic, which doesn't
Yes.
have that.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, it is. You kind of alluded to it a little bit, Jill, but this is the game where you like hang out in this village of Hinterberg, and it's full of like dungeons and magic, and like you have the town, and then you also have like your kind of dungeon quests. So there's a lot of things I think were cool about this game. One, the art style is very bold in its coloration. It kind of feels a little bit evocative of it's not full like on in the style, but it kind of reminds me of a roller drome a bit.
Yeah.
Again, not as harsh like with the coloration, but it kind of has elements of that. I think too it leans into a lot of like neons and vibrancy. You kind of have a snowboarding system that you can kind of zip around with, which sort of reminds me of Solar Ash a bit. And I like all of that. Like those are ingredients that excite me in a game. And one thing that I think is really cool that I only barely dipped into, because again, this is like a demo context and I kind of had to leave, is the sim aspects of it. You have like relationships / like I get more like friendship relationships. Like I don't know if dating is in this game, Jill. I don't think
so.
I think it's just friendship. Yeah.
You kiss the dungeon.
Yeah, exactly. You're in love with the game, you know, like you're in love with the grind.
Yeah. Every game's a dating sim.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're married to that dungeon grind. Like, you know, you're just out here making friends and slaying monsters. But it's cool that it has that aspect of it, just because I'm a big fan of having that split and that kind of genre blend. I mean, you see that in stuff like Cult of the Lamb. Like, that's one of the reasons that game popped off in such a big way. So, yeah, I like that blend. It seems really cool. So I'm like, okay, great. This is a game that I was interested in. Played it, liked it. The last one I will try to be brief because I feel like I've gone long on all these. Go Town. It's a sim. It's like a little town sim. I had been hearing rumblings about this game especially from friends that I have who are like hardcore, like live that cozy game builder life almost exclusively. And the cat squeaking is so cute.
I know. It's Harley.
It just had a lot of fun details. It has split screen co-op. As well. I think eventually they want to do online. I think right now it's just local. I think I'm getting that right, Jill. And it has really cool details. Like, for instance, you can high five like your friends, but you can also like high five the animals. So you like walk up and high five a cow, and I'm like, we're done. Like, we got it, you know? So I like that it has a lot of thoughtful sensibilities. Not that other Sims don't. Like, obviously, like the OGs, like, you know, the Harvest Moons, the Animal Crossings, like clearly a lot of thought and foundationalness has gone into that. But what I really like about this kind of next generation of this style of game is it's building on that. And I feel like that's so, like, just talking to the person like repping the game and talking to them about it, like it just is so clear they thought about like so many of these little details, and they're really trying to like to do their own thing to make it like a more modern take, to have things like leaf blowers and stuff. So yeah, and this cat agrees.
Yeah.
So those are my games.
Harley's a big
meow
gamer.
meow.
Oh no!
Yes! Oh my
That is such a cat sounding cat.
Yeah, he meows, you know.
Get that voiceover work started.
Do you like meow back at him sometimes, or do you just like
constantly? Yeah.
Okay, because I like will get in screaming matches with my cat. I'll just be like,
Oh, yeah.
or we'll just like yell at each other. Yeah,
Oh
hell
my
yes,
gosh.
hell yes.
Okay, goodbye.
Jumping over quickly to my top games. My game of GDC was Echo Weaver. It is from the developers of Wild at Heart. And it's not anything like Wild at Heart. And I was like, what are y'all up to? It is a Metroid Brainia, which I love a good pun. So the pitch that was given to me, so they really didn't need to say anything after this, was what Tunic did with Zelda, this game is doing with Metroid. And I'm like,
damn.
I'm in.
It's a big
pitch.
Yeah, that's a big pitch.
That's a big pitch.
So the game is essentially really smooth, really fast sci-fi thinking person's game where time is literally the most important element that you have. There's a little segmented bar up at the top that shows time counting down. And you don't really know what that means to begin with. But like the first big thing you encounter is a wall, which you can only pass through if you agree to give it 3 segments of your time. And that's half your time. And you're like, okay, I guess I have to. So you spend like, it's just enough time to get to figure out what your goal is for the demo. The goal is to get past a door that closes in 10 seconds after you begin a loop. like literal real time 10 seconds. Count it 1, 2, 3, 4, and 10. You got to get there. And it takes me about a minute to get to the stupid door the first time. So I'm like, okay, that's impossible. But then you start to like get things or not even get things. You discover the things that you have. It's very Tunic in that way. You have everything you need to begin with. You just sort of uncover the knowledge. So by the end of the demo, you can get there in 10 seconds and it's 100% and it's so cool. Like when your time runs out, you like everybody is in a loop. No one really knows they're in a loop. Some people kind of have a feeling that they're in a loop. At one point, a cultist came at me and was like, y'all don't want this secret knowledge. Get out of here with this. I'm like, no, I'm going to check this out. I want to figure out what's going on with this loop. I want to know what's happening. I want to know if I'm dying every time. I don't know what's going on. It's
What's
cool.
up with the cat?
Yeah,
Like
the
the
pizza
cat
cat.
is
Yeah.
the pizza cat is a holographic NPC that tells you everything you need to know. It's good. It's a good NPC.
Follow up. What's up with this man that I just put in our chat? This lizard boy. He has a cool jacket.
Oh my goodness.
He's
He's
holding
holding
a
someone's
head.
head too.
He's
yeah.
holding like an
Yeah.
android head. I
Yeah.
have no idea. I did not meet this lizard man, but
I
I
do like
really
him.
hope too soon.
I
Wait,
do
so
like
what
him.
is
Give him
the
show.
what does the pizza cat tell you? And I played like a few seconds of this, and I saw the pizza cat, and I was like, maybe this game's pretty good just because I saw.
Like the really funny thing is the cat was self-aware, so it was just like your basic rundown of like you're in a world and you don't know what's happening and it's some kind of loop is going on and you're this thing and you're the only one who can maybe like. But the funny thing was like one of the dialogue options was like, shut up, I've already heard this. So it's like a really kind of self-aware meta thing of like this is a loop game, so you don't need that information every single time, which I thought was really cool.
Mm.
Combat was really smooth and fast paced, and I'm like, from developers that were like Wild at Heart was kind of a Pikmin-ish kind of a game.
Mhm.
Like this is not what I was expecting. So sitting down to play this game, I was so impressed. I can't wait to see what else comes out of it.
Nice.
So let's
This
see,
looks
what were
really
my other
cool.
games? Phonopolis was something I did not have on my radar. It is absolutely gorgeous. It's a weird kind of post-apocalyptic thing, kind of Big Brother situation where the entire like world that you live in, like you're a little worker guy and there's a literal like speaker above your head that like goes off like like peanut teacher or something.
Mm.
And then you absolutely cannot not obey it. You have to obey it whenever it says anything. You don't know what it is as the player, but the character knows. So like it goes off, and my little character is like a trash compactor. So like he goes over immediately, like, and then like goes over like he's possessed and turns on the trash compactor. And you can see everybody else in this world sort of getting their instructions from this thing. And then at one point, my little guy falls through a hole and discovers like the remnants of ancient human society. It's like a little playhouse, and he's like hearing music for the first time and learning culture for the first time. He's like, this is actually pretty. I like this. And he finds like earbuds or like over the head like earphones that he puts on. He's like, okay, I like this. And then that allows him to not hear the voice anymore. So he can go off and like start doing things in reality. But of course, the overlord people see him do this and they're like, what's going on? So now you're in a fight with them, and it's a kind of it's all done through mouse clicks, but it's not a point and click. So like I've been captured, I'm in a car, and I can like pull on the car to like open up the innards, and I'm smushing things around to like change whether or not it's 2 wheels or 4 wheels, and that makes it kind of unwieldy. And then I push the horn so it blows off, and it like, and I eventually like escape, and that's kind of the end of it. I really love the ideas behind this game, the atmosphere of this game. I am and it the visuals are amazing. It actually ended up winning the IGF award for excellence in visuals. So this one is not coming out for some time, but put it on your wish list because it's going to be really good.
I was chatting with Madison Carr from developer behind Birth and also helping out with Animal Well.
Mhm.
Animal Well is starting a genre called just little lads. Phonopolis is also a little lads game.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Just a little guy.
Valve
Also-
add that Steam tag.
I thought
you.
when I was looking at this from your link, Jill, I was like, this kind of reminds me of Machinarium. And then I was like, oh, it's because they
It's-
made it.
Yeah, I was
Oh,
gonna say
shit.
this studio is like I
Is-
feel like they do such a good job of making fever dream games.
Yeah.
Where you play
Yeah.
them and you feel like you're in sort of a nightmare, but it's kind of pleasant, but also things are just like off.
A
But
nice
it's good.
mare?
A nice
Nice
A nice mare.
Yeah.
Yes.
I feel like
Um,
this studio is heavily overlooked. Like I feel like
Oh,
Machinarium
100%.
doesn't get the love it deserves.
Yeah, that's probably true. I feel like, too, they had what was it? Creeks? That was like on
Creeks.
Apple Arcade,
Creeks.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Happy Game
Yeah.
didn't do it much for me, I will say, but
What is
The
it?
next
Shoe
game-
Shell? That was a really good one.
Oh, I don't remember that one.
So that
Now I'm
means
gonna have to
it'll
go
either
back and
be
look at all of
it'll
their
either be
games.
good or not good. So we're back with the beginning. It seems like sometimes their games are good, and sometimes they might not be.
it's almost like video games are hard to make.
No,
Yeah.
this one's going to be good. I'm excited.
Mm-hmm.
How can one of us think a game is good and the other person thinks it's not?
It's
No,
like,
it's universal.
What?
This ain't like soup.
Opinions. No, Soup is good.
Yeah,
Um,
soup's really good.
I played Blueprints when I was at GDC. It was in kind of the later part of my appointments, so being able to experience the enthusiasm that I did at that moment like proves how fun it is. Essentially, have y'all ever played Betrayal at House on the Hill, like the board game?
Oh, yes, yeah.
Mm-mm.
It's that in video game form. You are like a young kid and your grand uncle or something dies and he is leaving to you his house and his title under the condition that you can find the 46th room of his 45 room country estate. So when you walk into the foyer, you have the option to go through doorway straight ahead of you, doorway to the left, doorway to the right. And as you walk through the doorway, you're given 3 or maybe 4, depending, options of rooms that you're about to walk into. So you are literally building the house as you are walking through it. As you walk through a room, you also lose steps. So I started off with like 30 steps, I want to say. And when you lose all of your steps, you become exhausted and the day ends. You can no longer like check for things. So you're going through and each room has like its own individual things. Sometimes you'll find a chest. Maybe it's locked, maybe it's unlocked. If you have a key or if you pick something up, you can open it. If not, maybe you'll find a key later and you can come back and try to open it. Maybe it has like its own puzzle. There was the really fun like 3 boxes and they all had things on it. It was that puzzle of like, I'm a liar,
Mm.
I'm the truth teller, like which one of you is lying? And I made that joke because like I couldn't talk to the boxes and they wouldn't, I had to work it out. And it was really fun and clever, especially with the developer staring down your neck while you're trying to think and be smart. But
Were you
like
successful?
I was for one of them, and the other one I just completely like I went off on a bad assumption and I was upset with myself. But every single room kind of fits together. Like I don't know how I don't think it's completely random which rooms you get to pick from, because I had a room that allowed me to get a card key, which I couldn't do anything with. And then I entered a room that was like a dark room, but it was literally dark. Like the lights were not on.
Mm.
And I'm like, okay, I'll go through there, which went to an observatory, which allowed me to connect to a utility room. And then I could use the card key in the utility room to turn on the lights to go back to the dark room.
This game
and
sounds hard,
use-
Jill. How hard is this
No,
game?
it's not. It's really not. It's literally just walking into a room and like,
I don't
let's
know.
just pick.
That's what my friend said when they tried to teach me the house on the hill of the haunting. Or
How did
whatever,
you
and I was
not-
like, "This is
You have to
we get
come
a
to-
lot of
come-
steps."
Come over here. Come over to my house. We will play Betrayal. I have a really good series of DLC for it as well.
People play
So-
Betrayal on me all the time. You know what I'm saying?
And it's so cool and so clever, and I love the art style. I am so down for this game. It was just super newly announced. So get that on your wish list because this is one you're going to want to play. I love it so much. Another one that's probably on a lot of people's watch lists already is Wild Bastards, which is the follow up to Void Bastards. And
Mhm.
y'all, it's good. You know, like no surprise there. It is a good game.
Jill,
Um,
is it essentially Void Bastards but Western?
I mean, kind of.
Okay.
But
Nothing
there
wrong with that.
are the big difference that I noticed was like there are 3 levels to it. So like there's the ship, there's the planet map, and then there's combat. Um, so in the ship, you're just sort of like that's where your team is, and you can upgrade things. Go down to the world map, and you move around kind of like it's kind of chessy in a way, where you're trying to stay away from the bad guys unless you can fight them and you want to. You're trying to unlock locations for like looting or like merchants or different combat zones, and eventually trying to find like a way to beam back to your ship before the big baddie can get you. And I totally died, but that's fine. And then the combat itself is more stealth, thoughtful shooter. Like they want you to take a second and like your goal is to take out all of the bad guys in that map. So they want you to stop and be like, okay, who do I have? What kinds of weapons do I have? How can I utilize that to take everyone out step by step? Um, Really cool. If you were excited for this, you should be excited. Last but not least, I'm going to shout out A Ranger, a role puzzling adventure.
Yay!
Mhm.
And this was the one that we all saw at the Nintendo partner event. It is like the little grid puzzles where you
So
move the whole
cute.
grid. It's beautiful. I wasn't expecting the kind of touching story opener that was there. The art is beautiful. All I talked to the artist a little bit. He says it was inspired by Cezanne, which I'm super excited about. It's beautiful. It's got really funny like pieces in there. It's not just like the humor of dialogue. Like the whole game has like situational humor. Nothing is coincident. It's not coincidental. There's some purpose to everything. Like I got really paranoid about a duck. And it's gonna happen. Something's gonna happen.
Why?
Like I don't know.
What
I don't
a,
know
what
why I
a,
was
what
there.
a pitch.
I don't know why I was there, but I know it's bad.
Oh,
The
dang.
developers are really fun, so they were just teasing me and like encouraging me in my paranoia about this duck. So it
Fun or
became
bullies?
it was a big deal.
Yes.
Yes.
So yeah, it was a good week for video games. Everybody, go get those on your wish lists if you can. But indie games never stop. So let's just
Unfortunately.
roll into just real quick. Let's talk about what we've actually been playing. I don't know when I found the time. I think I might have tripped into some kind of interdimensional space, but I did review Open Roads and I liked it a lot.
Yay.
So go
Nice.
check that out. And then also at GDC, I played Everdeep Aurora, which I've talked about before.
Yes.
Still love it. Still
Mhm.
great.
So excited.
Demon School, I know how many people are excited about
Oh,
that.
yeah.
It is still good and still great. Nights in Tight Spaces. I played Fights in Tight Spaces.
Mhm.
It's sort of a spy strategy game. I kind of bounced off of that. Knights in Tight Spaces, for whatever reason, maybe it's the like medieval art, maybe it's the more D&D party formation that I love so much, but like I'm super down for Knights in Tight Spaces. I played Breeze in the Clouds, which is
Yes.
it's a beat 'em up, but it's like Super Smash Brother controls, which I was not expecting. So fantastic. And then Diceomancer, I played the demo up on stream, and this is one of the ones that I just tripped over at the GDC show floor, and it was so good. Jenny, what you got?
A lot of throwbacks, mostly because I was just on my Switch and didn't have any of my PC stuff with me. So Hyper Light Drifter, I've actually never played it, and so I was like, you know what? It's time. I'm gonna play this because breakers come in, and I want to be prepared with the lore. Loving it. I'm surprised it's taken me so long to play it.
Yeah.
Honestly, super behind. Hyper Light Drifter basically is just sort of this action game. I don't know how to explain it other than like you have 4 different areas and each area has a boss, and it's like a really formulaic approach, but it feels really good because there's a lot of emphasis on like your dash being sort of like the movement is the thing that for me has been the build that I've played out. And really loving how the battle and the battle system in combat is almost more puzzle like it's not about going in and being like the strongest. I'm sure you could play it that way, but for me, because I focus so much on speed and movement, it's been about, okay, what's the smartest way I go about each combat situation? And it's been really fun. And I like how the lore is not super overt. Like there's some instances of basically pictures that are given instead of dialogues so that you can kind of ascertain what's going on in this world and sort of how there's like all this stuff happening as a result of, I think, this like the energy cores that you're supposed to be finding. But there is deep lore. And I think if you like dig in, there's some stuff that you could like hypothesize and theorize about that I think is really fun. I love that in a game. So that's been great. And then if you didn't know, Stardew Valley had a very, very big update. Just what is it? I don't forget what the actual date of the update was.
Like last week.
Last week, yeah, it was when we were traveling. I think it was like a Wednesday because I was just so sad that I could not get to my computer to play the update. So instead I played the Switch version, which does not have the update yet.
Oh man.
But I still started a new farm and pretended I was a part of the hype and had a great time.
We have the updated home. We just kind of
Yeah.
So but yeah, I actually went now I have a farm started in Stardew with the new, like, I forget, it's like the meadow grass or blue meadows or whatever they call the new farm type, and you start off with chickens, so that's really cool, and you can drink mayonnaise, which I think is the most
very important.
Notable.
I think a lot of people were asking for that.
Yeah, most notable update in the changelog. But yeah, have had a good time revisiting these sort of blasts from the pasts over the last week.
Janet, what do you got?
Yeah, the embargo for Harold Halibut, the preview was up last Thursday, and I finally got my preview written, which Jill, you also played this,
I
right?
did.
Okay.
I think we have similar feelings towards it, so go ahead.
I was like sussing you out in the DMs. I was like, what's going on there? But then I'm like, I don't want to spoil the like. I felt like I spoiled your like. I knew what you.
No, I was definitely trying not to say anything.
Jill
so
really
I'm like, I don't
game.
want.
I was
like, what if Janet really loves it? You know, like
I wouldn't mind that.
The embargo dance just so funny between friends. And
yeah,
DMs.
it was already, the embargo was already up, but it's just like I hit up Jill because I wanted to. Here's the reason I hit you up, Jill, which I forgot if I actually told you. I hit up Jill because I wasn't. So the way the embargo works is we got to play the first 2 chapters of the game, which amounts to approximately 5 hours. And then we also got a presentation from the team and then a Q&A, like open Q&A. So like the difference between that and like, I don't know, private preview is we're in like a Discord with other media people or whoever, and like everyone can just type in their question and then it just gets read out to everybody. And that's how those function, those like kind of remote group sessions. So I was like, I played like a bit of the game and then I did that session. So I didn't finish my playthrough of that chunk. And I got like through, I was like almost done with chapter 1. I didn't realize how far into chapter 1 I was. But I had basically hit Jill up to see like, hey, did you finish it? She's like, no, I didn't finish playing it. And I was like, okay, I feel like it's because she didn't like it. But the reason I hit you up was because I was going to ask, like, should I even finish this? Because I don't think my opinion's going to change playing chapter 2. But, and I want to see, because I'm like, if Jill played it, maybe she'll be able to speak to that aspect. But I'm like, well, I'm just going to write it out to like write a more thorough preview, even though I'm like, my opinion didn't really change much on it. But so Harold Halibut, this is funny because again, being so heavy in the indie space, which to me, I always feel like I'm like the one lacking. It's like y'all be like, oh, I played 32 games and talked to like 8 teams. And I'm like, I am still working on this one thing. Or I'm like, oh, I have this AAA like shit I've been running through where I'm like, oh, like what did I play? Anyway, so I like forget that like, to me, in my mind, Jill, I don't know if you feel the same way. Harold Halibut is like one of the hot indies of the year. It's like big hype, long development cycle. Like it's, if you're not familiar with it, it has this kind of claymation stop motion look to it that is achieved through handmade items. Like all the sets are made in real life, the puppets are made in real life, and they scan them in and like 3D scan them into the game and then sort of like did the digital aspect. So it's really this combination of physical and digital that creates like a really, unique look. And it's a really beautiful looking game. And in my head, I'm like, oh, everyone knows about Herald Halibut. So I was like telling people, I'm like, oh, I'm working on my Herald Halibut preview. Like, I don't know what that is. And I'm like, you don't know Herald Halibut?
Halibut.
To me, in my mind, Herald Halibut, again, it's like, oh, like Hollow Knight, Herald Halibut. They're all like right there, like on the top of everyone's mind.
Like,
But
it definitely has gone over to sort of the mainstream.
Yeah, it's been like
outlets.
Xbox or someone was big was showing
like
this.
Game Informer definitely did a big thing on him.
People were showing this off. Okay, it was on a stage. I'm like, anyway, but that is a funny thing that happened where I was like, you don't know Herald Halibut? Like, and then I explained it. I'm like, you still don't know what this is?
Yeah, all the mainstream media friends that Jen has, like, get out of here. I'm gonna play Dragon's Dogma.
I was like, you don't. I'm like, dude, this is like the talk of the town. Look, what are you talking about? This is huge. No, but genuinely, this is like it's had like a lot of press marketing, and it has kind of been top of mind, I think, for a lot of people. I mean, to keep, I guess, a long story short, I just think it goes a little too slow. I don't think the story really like evolves enough to really hook me. I do love the look of it. I love like kind of moving through the spaces, like even just like there's a moment where you like walk through this like revolving door that's like part made of cardboard, and it's so smooth, and like we don't even have like full, I mean, maybe it's like a light load when you do like the tube sort of kind of fast travel thing, but when you're going through like a hallway, it's as if the camera like goes across like where the doorway is. So there's some really fun presentation stuff, obviously like a lot of like love and care and like a decade plus of development, but I'm like, by the end of the day, I'm like, I'm just bored playing this, and I hate that for this. I really wanted to like this game, and I really thought it was going to be super cool, and part of me is still like, it's such a fun vibes game that I'm like, am I in the wrong? Am I not artsy enough to like appreciate what's going on? And frankly, by the end of it, I'm like, look, I don't care what anyone says, like this does not work for me. I think it just really dragged its feet, and maybe it, according to the team, it does have a slow start. It's supposed to pick. I was supposed to start getting wild, but I'm like 5 hours in, and the whole thing's like it's like 12 maybe. I'm like, I can't. I gotta call it here. This is kind of enough for me. But Jill, where were you at with this?
I'm in a similar place. I think this game is very artsy. It's sort of Wes Anderson-esque in a way. Like, if you're into that kind of vibe, this is maybe the game for you. I do like that. I do like the artsiness. I think the shining star of this game are the moments when you have dialogues with people. I love everyone, and I care about what's happening with them, even if it's like a very silly thing, like, oh, I am the person who sells ski stuff, and I'm
like the ski guy, Skippy.
yeah, ski guy. Yeah. I think the problem with this, and the developers did talk about how people ask why you didn't just make this into like a movie, like a claymation movie rather than a game, and they wanted it to be interactive, and I get that. But at the same time, for me, what really throws it back for me is that this is not a fun game to play.
Yeah.
It feels off a lot of the times just with like moving and stuff. You don't really know where to go. They're not great at signposting, like the kinds of design things that developers tend to get their experience from making games. Like, it seems like their touchstones are a lot more movie than video games. So like there's not great signposting. There are times when you are interacting with something, the character will do that thing that I have not seen since like generations past, where they like the character has to reset to go and interact with the thing. And I'm like, that's not terrible, but it like every single thing you have to do, and it takes so long to get there because your character kind of plods, and it takes so long to kind of set up. And then I spent forever trying to find a doorway because like the door was literally like the wall is right here, so like you can't really see so it's like little tiny things like lighting the way so people know that this is the way you want to go, or like giving you a tiny map marker or something. I know people don't like the yellow paint, but like, hey, I want some yellow paint here, metaphorical or otherwise. I think the story will turn out to be really cool, and it will be really touching and really personal to the people whom it touches. I don't doubt that. I think that the narrative and their storytelling abilities, it's a very certain type of that, which people will love. But I think as a game, it's hard to sort of be super down into it, which is why I didn't end up playing as much as Janet. Because you said, the deadline for this was during GDC, and I'm like, I'm one person. I'm trying to do all this stuff. I have to be really mindful of the things I put my time into, and I know I know that this is not something that's going to resolve, so I have to put this away, unfortunately. So that's kind of where I am with Harold Halibut. He's my dude. Like, I feel for him. I hope that they do well. I hope people find this game, because this is going to be, I'm sure, many people's game of the year.
Really? I don't think
yeah.
it will be.
I think there are going to be those people who are like,
I think there
am
will be people that like
absolutely-
it, but
Yeah.
Or Mike,
No, I think they're
are you
gonna-
heralding? Are you heralding around? Are you like?
For what it's worth, when I played it 2 years ago, I played a few hours. I really liked it.
Mhm.
I agree it has some tech issues. At least back then it had tech issues. I think the story is going to carry it. I think the story is going to be something quite special. And yeah, I am that weird little art house sicko
Yep.
that likes these kind of Wes Anderson kind of flicks.
See, I like. and
Should
that's-
have been a film, maybe, but
well,
like
here's my-
yeah,
yeah. I mean, I'm not obviously here to argue like to get people to like it or not, right? But
fight
for
me,
me,
Janet.
Can we just say that Mike doesn't like soup and leave it at that?
yeah, how artsy can you be if you don't like it? But I like art house shit. I like story shit. I like walking around, and this still like didn't, and that's really what sort of stuck out for me, where it's like, yeah, sure, the story's gonna carry it. I'm getting into the story, and like, it's not doing it for me. And I think
will
there is a
say-
lot of like charm in like
Yeah.
the characters and like funky fun moments, but even then it gets kind of stuck in the middle sometimes.
Yeah.
Where it's so goofy, but then it's kind of trying like to be like deep, so it'll be like, let me like say a deep line, so like I'm deep. And I'm like, I feel like this is Oxenfree if the story wasn't that good. Which, like, I know it sounds really mean, but like that's kind of where I landed on it. But I don't know, maybe some people are gonna be like, actually this eats. Like I meet my aqua fish friend, and it's like, this is like if water was a game or whatever, that weird that I've heard that fish fucking movie or whatever. I don't think it's a romance thing. It's a friendship thing with the alien fish. But it's like maybe it'll end up being like, that level of deep at the end. I'm not gonna find out.
That film is The Shape of Water, and
The Shape
I
of
will
Water,
say,
Yeah, maybe it's gonna shape of water it. I don't know. You know what I mean?
I will say whenever I do see Harold Halibut, I'm like, damn, very excited for in probably like 5 years at this point. Very excited for that game, Vocamp Atlantis, I think it's called. Are y'all familiar with that?
Yeah.
Ooh.
I'll do
I
it.
got distracted.
I did pull it up.
Okay.
I'm throwing it in the chat. It is another stop motion game, but it definitely feels more gameplay heavy versus what Harold is trying to do. And I think
Oh yeah. Okay.
this is just straight up stop motion, not like they didn't scan the models and they're digitally animating. Yeah. So every time I do see Harold, I'm like, I'm excited for Harold. I'm excited to see the story that it's going to tell and all that stuff. But man, Vocamp Atlantis is
Oh, it's
where
co-op
at.
too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Adds to my list.
Yeah, that was
Another
really
game that I
good.
won't be able to pronounce.
don't worry, it's coming out in 2029 probably. So
Yeah, I'll see you there.
I feel like I'm in the same
in the nursing
boat
home.
as you, Janet, where because I didn't play like the full sort of preview, so I think y'all may be more privy to story elements that I weren't that I haven't experienced, but like the Steam Next Fest demo, that was like hefty. I feel like that took like 2.5 hours, maybe 3
Yeah, it was hefty
for
boy.
me to play. And I think
Harold's a big lad.
Harold is a big lad. No, I think what really stuck with me is that I liked the story when I like zoomed out and thought about it conceptually. But in the character moments, like I think there was a mission where you have to like talk to these brothers who are like the
Mr. Secretary.
I forget. Yeah, Mr. Secretaries, and you're like learning their story. And I think there was a point where I was talking to like the third brother where I was like, I don't know why I'm talking to you, really, and I don't know enough about you to necessarily care about this story in the way that I think the game wants me to care about this story. And I think that's what's really hard is I think by the end of the demo, I was interested enough that I'm like, I think I maybe want to try pushing a little bit further. Again, this was the Steam Next Fest demo, so not as far as like you both played, but I feel like it was plotting. I think that was a really good word that you used, and I'm going to try to invest that time, but I feel like I'm keeping my expectations like relatively not low, but just like I'm trying to like temper my expectations to understand that like the pacing of this game is going to be slow, and hopefully through that maybe experience it in a little bit more of a positive way. But I do think that there's something missing where I'm not connecting with the characters in the way that I want to.
Kissing fish. That's what's missing.
Yeah.
Again, I don't think that's where it's gonna go. But like, especially when like and it's in the it's funny. I put in my preview like at the end. I was like, spoiler alert, even though it's literally in the trailers. I'm like, it's like the hand on like the little tank. I don't know.
If Harold starts touching scales, game of the year. You know,
I don't know. I mean, I don't know where it's gonna go. I will say again, there's a read on my preview if you're interested in more details. Pen2pixels.com. But I get into more of the stuff that just the details of it all, right? Because I think there are some things that hit. There's a lot of incredible like composition moments in it, and atmospheric things going on. But I also played. God, what is this? Sping with the exclamation point? Like this Apple Arcade joint. I guess I am the Apple Arcade person.
Hell yeah, let's go.
I'm just gonna like, you know what? Everyone has to have something that they're bringing to the potluck, right? This is mine.
Apple Arcade correspondent.
Supermarket Sims and Apple Arcade.
Exactly. This is I feel like I really resonated with your comment, Jenny, about being like weirdly on the go and kind of just like, oh, it's whatever I can kind of like put in my pocket. And this was sort of one of the things that I had played, I think, on the plane. Because funny enough, okay, so like more inside baseball. Because I didn't play through the whole section for Harold Halibut, right? And I was looking at the calendar and I'm like, okay, I'm fucked. I'm not gonna hit this deadline. I didn't even finish the game. But what if I downloaded it on my Steam Deck? Which also it did not work on Steam Deck. But I was like, what if I downloaded it on my Steam Deck? And also this game is like 50 gigabytes. I downloaded this thing for hours the night before. And I tried playing on the plane, forgot my headphones. Didn't forget my headphones. The AirPods wouldn't sync to it. Was literally just playing it out loud, playing out, holding it to my face because I'm like, I can't just read it. It's like a story game with like VO. I'm like playing like 1 inch from my face. It doesn't have cloud sync either, so I restarted the game from the beginning on the plane. And then I got to a certain point where you get like your PDA thing with your like to-do list, and it crashed. And then I tried again, and then it crashed. And I just went on this loop, and then I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll just put it up later. That's okay. But anyway, so it's somewhere in the midst of, my bitterness with the plane Wi-Fi and everything. Oh, no. I was like, okay, you know what? What can we do with this time? I look at my phone and I have Sping. Again, it's SP exclamation point NG. So it's kind of a funky spelling. This got put on my radar at first by Leo Vader from MinMax, probably like a year and a half ago at this point. And he talked about it, how he liked it. I kind of just downloaded it at one point when I was like adding mobile games, and I played it. It's really good. It's super simple. Just kind of tap controls. You are like a little shape and you're like rotating around maybe like a point, right? It's kind of like a platformer, but like a momentum physics kind of thing where it's like, okay, you'll drop down, you're trying to get the little gems, and then your goal is just to get to the end of each section, which is represented by just like this big opening. That's basically it. So it's like, okay, you can throw yourself down there, and you're trying to collect the little like gems or coins along the way. And this is one of those examples of games where like the core mechanic doesn't change, but what evolves is the level design, where it's like, okay, well, we're going to add in like these additional spikes. We're going to add in this different way where, okay, you can kind of propel yourself and then like catch the point of contact on the opposite side so that you go in a different direction and things like that. So it's very simple, very satisfying, really good. It's by SMG Studio. Their tagline is a joyful game of flow. One little cute thing too that I noticed a lot of these mobile titles do is in lieu of, I don't know, any other aspect, they have like a little cosmetic aspect where it's like, oh, instead of geometry, you can be like a different, you can be like a flower. And I'm like, okay, yeah. Like, and you see that in like, in what other game does that? Geez, the Infinity has like that kind of thing where it's like different color. Oh, the palette of the blocks is different. It's like, ooh, honestly, that's what Tetris and old arcade games were missing. Skins, frankly. Skins get a lot of hate. You know what? I like changing the skin. All right, sue me. You never changed the wallpaper on your phone? Exactly. You're not. So time to get off your high horse because some of y'all are using skins, but just a different name. Anyway,
I'm expecting Mike to just be like, "No, I don't
No,
change."
I never do.
Yeah,
Never.
I'm
Default
literally,
always.
I'm
Doesn't
literally
never
over here
change
like
it.
changing every day.
just looking at that fucking mountain from that Apple put on your laptop for 3 years. Anyway, Sping. It's nice. It's fun. It's quick. It does have levels, so I do think there's an end. So I'll probably just come back to this periodically. But yeah, that's what I've been playing.
It's the moving out dev.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's wild. Sping.
Yeah, they've done a lot of stuff. I forgot what else
Yeah.
they've done besides moving out. I feel like they've done
Risk.
kind of everything.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I've been captured by a cat, so I have to move my mic a little closer to my face to say, Mike, what have you been playing?
Yeah, I.
Why does
have
my
been
cat ever
playing-
show up to the podcast?
Do you have a cat?
Yeah,
Do we know that Bruce is existent?
yeah. Fucking this lazy.
Yeah, do you
this
even
lazy
have a cat,
doesn't
Janet?
even- yeah.
I've been playing video games. Finally, I've touched a
Yay.
controller. It's wild. Jumped in some little bite-sized bangers. First being Funny Business. It's a I don't know, maybe like a 10-minute little experience where you are starting your new job at the Joke Factory, and your training manager is teaching you the 3 pillars of making a joke. It's super fun. It's just like dumb, quirky, really fun dialogue. Some like I played it on Steam Deck I played it on itch through Steam Deck, so really fun. Just touch mechanics of like throwing a pie in a face and honking a horn and squeezing your manager's nose to make a joke. Really cute. It's free on itch. Funny Business. Jump in, kill 10 minutes at the doctor's office. You know what I'm saying? Then we got Crawl, which is horrifying.
Okay.
Oh my God.
But
I was sort of thinking
We
you were
need
going to
to-
say that, but like maybe my expectations weren't.
Okay,
you
it's
know,
time for me to make the Indie Council drinking game, and it's gonna be like Mike talks about some dark shit.
horrific game.
Wait till next week. Yeah, Crawl is a first-person cave crawling game.
oh no.
Low poly cave crawling game. You know the film The Descent? It's that
Yep.
game,
No.
but with
No.
Pokemon Snap elements. So you're crawling around this like really
This is like
intricate
Firewatch
cavern.
DLC.
This is like, yeah,
Worse for
legit,
Firewatch.
unhinged.
You're crawling around this really intricate cavern system, trying to find certain pillars to take photos of, because there was a group that went ahead of you and some horrific shit happened to them, and you have to try to find evidence of what was going on. And you are only allowed to crawl forward. You are not allowed to go backwards, left, right. You always have to go forwards. You have some tools with you. You have a little crank flashlight that will go out every couple of minutes, so you have to grab your flashlight and click really fast to wind it back up so you can see again. And you have your map to kind of see where you're going, and you have a camera to take the pictures. But the camera ain't just for taking pictures, because there are some friends in the cave with you.
Oh.
No.
So there are going to be many moments where you turn around. So like you're crawling forward, and in order to get like the flashlight or the map or something, you have to physically turn around to like grab it at your hip or whatever. When you
Ugh.
turn around, you will be surprised by your friend, a little ghoul. They're very pale. There's some red on them from Kool-Aid that they were drinking.
Jam, just eating a jelly sandwich,
Just eating some jellies, you know?
As you do in the caves, you know.
As you do in the caves, those little cave berries. The game's really cool. It's creepy. It's sadistic. I wish it had resolution options, because on my current monitor, it's just like way too blown up. So it's very hard to play. But maybe it seems like the devs are updating it pretty frequently. So hopefully that gets sorted. Wasn't really working well on the Steam Deck. It looked gorgeous on the Steam Deck. But hey, if you're a fan of Pokemon Snap, check it out. Cute little friends.
I like that it says it's max a 20-minute game.
Yeah, it's a long
like-
20 minutes.
Also, Mike, can
Damn.
you make because you have so much time on your hands?
Always.
Yeah.
Could you write like I want to see some like listicle content from you that is
Mhm.
Please.
wholesome games turned horrific.
Yeah.
And it's
Ooh.
like
Yeah.
Pokemon
Yeah.
Snap if it was scary, and it's like
Yeah.
this.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Your funky little Petco Park or whatever it is.
Oh yeah, Pico Park.
Yeah, that one's not really that scary though. It's more
It's
spooky.
not.
No,
than
yeah, that
scary.
one's pretty cute.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like,
it's cute.
yeah.
Eerie.
What you
Yeah.
can list it from like spookiest to most horrific or something. You know, I'm not gonna tell you
Yeah.
how to write your list. I'm just gonna tell
Sure.
you to write the list. and then complain when it's not written the way I want it,
Yeah.
like
Will
any
do.
editor
Yes,
would.
that
You
sounds
know,
I
right.
look forward to that.
I feel like we were thinking of this. It's like, were we or were you? Because
Like a true editor-in-chief.
yeah.
They also have I noticed on this Steam page or on this itch page, they're currently working on a game called Photons, which is like a co-op horror game that's like kind of a similar kind of vibe, but like you're in some cavern thing that's completely dark and you have to work together in order to navigate this world with monsters and stuff. Looking forward to it. Photons. Check it out.
You said you played this on Steam Deck, right?
I tried to play
You
Crawl
tried,
on
but it
Steam
didn't
Deck.
work,
It
okay.
didn't work super great.
Okay.
Generally, the itch on Steam Deck situation.
Yeah.
Drawbacks to that? Is it other than like I know not everything will work on it, but like
Yeah, I mean, not everything will work on it. Like, not everything on itch has native like controller support. So, like Crawl, for example, it's straight up mouse and keyboard. So, like, sometimes it translates okay, sometimes it doesn't. So, like, something like Crawl didn't work. Funny Business, totally fine. I was able to go through dialogue with the A button and use the touchscreen on the Steam Deck just to like hit the little interacting things. But something like Celeste 64 played like a dream on the Steam Deck. Loved it. But yeah, it's kind of hit or miss. Like I never go in expecting every single game to work, but always pleasantly surprised when they do.
I gotta get that set up.
It's good. It's annoying to set up, but
I'm not
it's-
gonna be the one doing it, but
yeah,
that's fine.
Isaiah,
Yeah.
good luck.
We got that.
If you have
IT
links
support.
for it, send them my way, and I can send them to him.
Yeah, there
someone
were
told me
some-
that you could do this for me.
There was some walkthrough. It wasn't too awful.
Sweet.
Really quick one. I played the wrestling cardboard championship.
Okay.
It's exactly what it sounds like. You play as a box and you fight other boxes.
Is that exactly what it sounds like? Because I feel like it could have been anything.
It could have been so much.
It is okay. It is a okay video game.
Good to
I
know.
jumped in. I think it's mostly for multiplayer. I jumped into the career mode. For a game about boxes, there's a lot of dialogue that you can't skip. I think in like my half hour of playing, I think I fought for 2 minutes. So
Chatty boxes.
So
Okay.
lore heavy boxing.
lore heavy boxes. Lore heavy boxes. And the biggest thing I put time into finally was Berserk Boy.
Yeah.
Berserk Boy is the Mega Man inspired action platformer. It's vibrant, it's fast, it's frenetic, it feels so snappy. The T. Lopes' music rocks. Yeah, game goes hard. It's real good. I'm excited to dig more into it. I only played one world, so like I beat one boss so far. The flame drill guy. So yeah, very much not as difficult as Mega Man, but Mega Man inspired in terms of like you go stage by stage, and once you beat the boss, you get the boss's powers. Keep on keeping on. You can switch on the fly. Real good. Real good.
Yeah. It's one of those games that I'm glad that John works with me because that's a him type game.
Yeah.
It looks good.
And I got to meet the developer at PAX. I didn't know he was going to be at PAX just as an attendee. Very delightful young man. Zoo. Shout out to Zoo.
Shout out to Zoo, to Brittany, to France.
To
And
France.
that secret thing.
And
That secret thing.
Yeah.
Secret thing. I can tell you about Secret thing after.
And with that, that's the end of this week's council. Thank you to everyone for joining us. We could Mike.
I have one serious thing.
One serious thing.
Uh,
Go.
Either today or yesterday was 2 years since we lost
Oh.
Muhammad Fahmy,
Yep.
writer and creator of like Coffee Talk, oh my God, What Comes After, and the upcoming After Love EP. Just wanted to shout that out. I can't believe it's been 2 years already.
Yeah.
Awful stuff, but yeah. Continue. Sorry.
Continue. Yeah, that is very sad. I saw that and I was like, yeah, I can't believe it's been 2 years already. I can't wait for that game to come out. But yeah, just tell people that you love them in your life. I think that's going to be my ultimate sign off there. But
Yeah.
you can follow the show here on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and for like a week, Google. The Indie Council has its own socials, and Janet's been going pretty fun with a lot of the things that she's been posting. Janet, what have you been posting over there on those socials?
Thanks. Yeah, we have we're Indie Council on everything, or the Indie Council. I never fucking remember. Also, I've been
I
trying
thought
to
that was a pretty
I've been
good
trying
segue.
to swear less on the stream on the
Uh-huh.
podcast too, and today I just decided I don't care.
I've been doing the same. I feel like whenever I do really well,
yeah.
everybody else does horribly.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, you know,
Mike's like a sin eater.
yeah, it's going around. yeah, we're Indie Council _ on the health side, aka Twitter, aka X. And yeah, just doing some polls, doing some tweets, hoping to maybe do some like cross posting on the other things that are basically just Twitter. But yeah, it's been fun. I think one thing that's nice about these work events is it kind of does push everybody to be like, what if I just like did a lot of content, which like can get dangerous. But I'm like, okay, yeah, let me work the socials a little bit. Let me take a picture outside the Denny's and take a picture of Jill when she's not looking. Like, what can
I feel
what can
like
I
you
put
could
up
have
here?
gotten some really. I know what I'm playing in that picture, and like my face got real expressive at different times. So I'm glad you got a semi not horrific one.
Oh yeah, that's intentional. I always try to pick. That's not the only picture I took of you. That's just the one I posted.
Oh,
but in a
I
not
don't know
scary
if we want
way.
to dig into that.
In a not scary way,
Yeah.
Yeah, go
Janet's
follow that.
like following me around.
Yeah, that's why I didn't have any appointments. I was like, my appointments. What are you talking about? We're going together. You won't know I'm there, but I'll be there waiting in the wings.
Hey,
But yeah,
what's your
follow
schedule?
us.
Oh yeah, it's my schedule also. Cool. Great.
Yeah, that's crazy how that is.
Wild. Weird
And with
coincidence.
that very comforting message, this session is closed. Go play some indies.